take it off the chart. Just make sure it's still there. Actually, it's not fire station, because if you're looking for real tax service, then it's good to this over there. Anybody wrap it up right now, the hair on it.
Or normally we have a password.
There's somebody else that was paid for that service.
Surely. I haven't even met like
You know where the door is called to?
Jimmy. I'm telling you, so at that football meeting, where people are getting all like hated and everybody's talking, it's like Jimmy's voice is raising from the background. Like it was like such a familiar soothing sound. I was like, there's my partner. I know that voice.
Yeah.
I can't, how long was he sitting behind me and said nothing?
Council ready? All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. If we would all please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation by Mr. Jerry Friedman.
Let's pray. Father, as we come together tonight, we of course ask what we always ask, and that's for your presence to be here, to guard, to guide, to strengthen, to encourage, to give wisdom where wisdom is lacking. Father, we recognize that yours is the authority, yours is the help that we need. Father, in addition to praying for this group, in addition, Father, for praying for our first responders in our community, my heart is heavy tonight for the city of McGregor. Lord, I ask your blessings upon this sister city. I pray, Father, for the families in that community that are suffering through the grief of loss. And I pray, Father, that you will continue to bring your comfort, your peace, your strength to all of those who are seeking you today. We love you. Thank you for who you are. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Rogers, Collins,
Here.
Eckerly,
Here.
Wagner,
Here.
Lane,
Here.
Burks,
Here.
Master George.
Here. Item 5 is citizens' comments. We will have Ms. Linda Vaughn with chamber announcements.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city manager, and general public. I bring you greetings from the Greater Robinson Chamber of Commerce. We do have a couple of things coming up. One thing I will announce, it's really not a chamber event, but it's good to know, and some of you may actually want to be there, if not all of you. On Saturday, we are having our semi-annual pancake Veterans Appreciation Pancake Breakfast. I can't get my tongue untangled today. And it is from 8 to 10 at Peplow Park. It is free to veteran and a guest. And we would invite the city council to come as well and show your support for the veterans in our community. On October the 20th, we will be having our quarterly networking luncheon at Tajin at noon. We will have Jennifer Snyder there speaking on making the most of your networking opportunities. We will also have a business spotlight by Angela Dodd of Launchpad Espresso, which we are eagerly awaiting their opening so we can do a ribbon cutting. We don't have a date for that yet. Hopefully toward the end of this month we'll be able to do a ribbon cutting and they'll be able to get open, have a grand opening and everything. The only other thing I can think of at the moment is our annual Christmas parade, which will be held on December the 1st, which is a Thursday night at 6 o'clock. And between now and then, you'll receive information as to how to sign up to register to have a float in the parade. It costs nothing to have a float, but there are prizes to be given away, so you might be interested in doing that. And we do still need sponsors for that, though. If anyone is interested, we need a reindeer roundup sponsor. We have 2 sponsors for that at $250 each, and so we need a reindeer roundup sponsor, and due to the fact that we need insurance, we need an insurance sponsor. So both of those are available. If anybody's interested, just let the chamber know and we can sign you up for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mrs. Vaughn, if you'll contact me for sponsorship, I'll get
Okay.
you on your reindeer roundup.
Reindeer,
Well,
both? Oh, both of them? Reindeer and the insurance?
no, just all the reindeer.
Oh, I think I have it done.
Oh, you already have, okay.
Maybe.
Well, just give
I
me a
need to
shout.
confirm. So thank you.
All right, any other citizens' comments at this time? Being none, we'll move to consent agenda items 6 and 7. Council, any questions, comments, motions?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items 6 and 7. I'll second.
Motion is to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, regular agenda, public hearing, conduct a public hearing, consider possible action on ordinance 2022-030, amending sections 6.17.3 and 6.17.4 of ordinance number 2022-019, being an amendment to ordinance number 2018-006 as amended, the zoning ordinance for the city of Robinson, Texas regarding maximum building height in industrial district. This will open the public hearing at 6:05, which would normally be Mr. French, as he is no longer here. Mr. Lemay.
So this is a amendment to the zoning ordinance. What has brought this about is over the last 3 years, we've had multiple site visits from various businesses, specifically on the Robinson Business Park property, who have inquired about building height as it relates to potential towers as part of their manufacturing facilities. And in each of those cases, there have been discussions about needing 120 feet or 140 feet or 170 feet. Our current ordinance limits it to 90 feet and then provides a special exception can be granted by the ZBA. A lot of these folks that are doing these site selections, they need to make a decision on a site and they don't want to make a decision and then not be able to get the zoning. So they want all that in place ahead of time. So since this has been a recurring item, we looked at the existing ordinance and tried to figure out how can we come up with something that will allow us to do that, you know, specifically on the industrial properties that's only allowed on the industrial property. And allow them to get what they want, but also try to protect the properties around it. So what we came up with is a proposed ordinance, and so what we're recommending is keeping the normal building height at 45 feet, which it is now. That's permitted within the first 100 feet from the nearest property line, nearest residential use. Then allowing that height to increase 1 additional foot for each additional foot away from there, to a maximum height of 90 feet. So at that point, to get that extra 45 feet, they would end up having to move another 45 feet away, so it'd be 145 feet to get the 90 feet. But in order to meet these companies' requests, because none of them are wanting a whole building that tall, they're just needing a tower as part of their manufacturing, this ordinance would allow up to 1/3 of the footprint of the building to go to a height as high as 170 feet. But it has to be located at least 300 feet from the property line of the nearest residential uses. So again, we're trying to keep that distance close to 2 to 1 height versus distance away. We feel like that is going to allow us the flexibility to meet these projects so they don't have to come back and get variances or amend zoning and can make an informed decision. Anything over 170 feet would require a special exception from ZBA. We haven't really had anything any higher than that. I think actually the highest we had is 165 feet. So we feel like this will get most of those, include pretty much all those requests that will come in and allow those to move forward. This did go before the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 22nd of September, and they did recommend approval by a vote of 6-4 and 0 against. And I will be happy to answer any questions there for the public hearing.
Do you have anyone in the public that can speak on this? Close the public hearing at 6:09. Council questions for Mr. Levin? Mr. Master George?
Yeah, just one. Are any of the other surrounding towns and cities, do they have the same type of agreements or zoning restrictions in place?
I mean, Waco does. They're the ones that keep getting all the projects.
Yeah.
So, one I can think of, if you've been out on Texas Central Parkway past Mars,
Right.
that facility actually also looked at the Robinson Business Park.
Okay.
And I think that one they have, there's 140.
Is that Unzi or something like that? That German?
Right on the
Yes,
corner, yeah,
it's a flooring company, and that's actually in their process, I guess, to get patterns in the flooring. They have whatever the substance is, they drop it, it splatters and creates that's how I understand they do it, and so that's what that is. But that's the kind of thing.
140?
Yeah, I think that was 140. So our most recent one, Project Ocho, they're looking at part of their manufacturing process. They need a tower that's 165. So that's kind of where we come up with this. Is it would be limited to the industrial properties, and we would require pretty reasonable separation from anything residential.
Right. Okay.
The only other place that might be able to do something like that is the Robinson Industrial Park, and the residential there is even further away.
Right.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Burks?
No questions at the moment.
Ms. McLean?
Same.
Mr. Franklin?
We're good. Mr. Collins?
No questions.
Nothing came back, Mr. Burks?
No,
Okay.
nothing did.
All right, if we have no questions, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-030 as written.
I'll second that.
All right, motion is to approve ordinance 2022-030. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 9 is conduct a public hearing and consider the request of Steve Green for a variance to section 5.1A of the subdivision ordinance, being more specifically subsections 4 and 5 that require a proposed lot to be serviced water and fire protection by a minimum 6-inch diameter water main at the expense of the subdivider of the property, if not already present at the subject site, being 2.774 acres, known as Lot 1, Block 1, of the South 12th Street addition, addressed at 7388 South 12th Street. Public hearing opens at 6:11 with comment by Mr. Lemay.
All right, so we've had a few of these in the past. Our subdivision ordinance currently requires that in order to subdivide a property, it has to have adequate infrastructure, and adequate infrastructure is defined as a water line that's at least 6 inches. You do have to have a 6-inch water line to have fire hydrants, so that's where the fire protection comes in. Without a 6-inch line, you don't have that. The area where this property is at, the owner actually has a meter currently on the existing 4-inch water lines there. He's wanting to divide this property into a second lot and get an additional meter for that lot and attach to the 4-inch. There is adequate capacity on the 4-inch, so it's not a case of there's not enough water there. It just does not. It's an older line. It does not meet the 6-inch requirement. We do have a 6-inch stubbed out at the end of Moonlight and 12th Street, but that is approximately 1,200 feet away. That's a pretty significant distance to run a 6-inch water line to serve one house. So they are requesting a variance to the subdivision ordinance. And I don't believe Mr. Green is here.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience like to speak on this? Close public hearing at 6:13. Questions, Mr. Master George?
I'm just concerned about potential future development along this area. I see, looking at the overhead shot, there's an awful lot of open land out there. And I'm just wondering if at this point in time, do we foresee any major development happening out there, or is this kind of something way down the road?
12th Street's also our boundary line.
Yeah, everything to the right of 12th Street is outside the city.
It's all,
Yeah, most of the stuff to the west, there are individual lots, they have homes on them. There's a property just below where this shows on the map. It's got an ID number 157233.
right,
That's 10 acres. There was some discussion about developing that and extending the 6 from Hobbs, but somebody ended up buying that, building one house on it. So
Okay.
I
Which
doubt
one? Which one was that?
it's this.
It's down to the bottom.
Right. We got this one right here. And so the only frontage to that lot now has a house, so there's no way to build any additional homes on the remaining acres. So that's really the only property there that is accessible from 12th that would have been large enough to
yeah.
put anything more than 1 or 2 houses here and there, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Burks?
No, sir. I assume the land's already been subdivided, right? Or is,
No, they're wanting to
Has it?
to
Okay.
subdivide it, but in order to, they're gonna have to plat it because of it's under 5 acres and they cannot plat it without adequate infrastructure or the variance.
It doesn't seem that big. So it's 5 acres.
I think they're wanting to partition off about 2.4. I thought was what it said. What's that total? That's what I saw.
This is 2.78 acres.
2.7, okay. Yeah, 2.77 acres.
And they're dividing that?
They want to divide it into 2 lots.
sell off an acre?
Sell off an acre of it.
What's the current zoning out there now? Is it,
It's
Rural
ag or
estate?
rural estate. That lot's
Estate.
probably rural estate, being it's under 5 acres.
so the rural estate would need 1 acre.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to have at least 1 acre.
I don't have any other questions on it.
Ms. McLean?
Is there a potential downfall to doing that?
For another house, no. I mean, if somebody was wanting to come in and build 10 houses or something
Right.
like that, we'd probably want to assist that we get the line up there, get a
Yeah.
fire hydrant, things like that. For just one house, the volunteer fire department does have a tanker. They're going to have to, they can fill the tanker off the 4-inch line, they just can't pull off the 4-inch.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the same thing as Mr. Master George. If we were to insist a 6-inch water line be put in, what does that give us, if anything? Are there any kind of opposite of what?
I mean, it would get us 1,200 more linear feet of 6-inch water line from Hobbs to there for Hobbs and Leland and 12th Street.
As a developer, Mayor, is that really necessary in that area, or?
I mean, so, yeah, I mean, there's potential for some growth in that area, but should it be at the expense of this one property owner? So typically, my belief is if the availability is there, you give it to them. And then if a developer comes up, it's who gets there first. You know, the developer's not there, and you can't really plan for development unless they're bringing something, and they haven't yet. And who knows if it ever will, it could remain just ag and rural estate. So I would say if there's capacity, give it to them. If there's other people that come up and need more capacity, grant that capacity until you can't. And then when you run out of capacity, you're like, okay, now we can't, now you want to develop. Now, it's first come, first served. You know.
I mean, to do anything significant, you're talking about having to acquire multiple properties to get the street frontage. It doesn't show it on the map here, but there is some larger property that fronts East Moonlight, north of 12th Street. The owner of that property has talked to us in the past about developing it. There is a 6-inch water line that actually ends right there that they could connect to. So I think any development that might happen would be from accumulating properties going north from there, and it would just make sense to extend that water. But just taking it up 12th Street, and there's enough small homes and small acres, I don't know how many of those people would be willing to sell their home to have it torn down and turned into a new subdivision. 20, 30 years from now maybe, but right now, I don't
And we're not allowing meters on the other side of the
No,
road.
no new meters.
So
We
we
have a
have
few
some.
existing, but no new.
Yeah, we had some and they bored the road, the meters on the other side of the road, and they bore underneath or cut the road and provide, but that's no longer.
Our ordinance does not allow us to hook up anyone outside the city limits. If you're not already on, you can't get on.
So like that large tract that's there.
Yeah, and it's not our ETJ, so we can't annex it, we have to go with that.
Although that water plant is in.
You think you talk to it, buy and work from us.
Mr. Harlan?
Questions? Answered most of my questions.
Yeah, my personal stance is, like I said before, is if the availability of water is there, somebody wants to cut the lot up, then say grant it to them. If a development or something larger comes by. Now, that could stop. I mean, that might be, there'd be a water study done and we don't have the pressure to serve another one. Well, then it stops, but
Until then.
yeah, until then.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a specific number of homes that can be hooked up to each size line. Like a 2-inch, I think it's 12. And a 4-inch is way more than that. Then we know we're close to that out there.
One question. The feed for that 6-inch that comes down Moonlight, that comes off 77,
I don't know if it comes off 77, but it may come down off of Ivan back in that area.
Okay,
We've got
good.
lines all through that area.
because I'm just wondering if there increases to be development on the other side of 77 heading west on Moonlight, will that draw from that source of water for those people in that area and cause us to have to put a big line in later?
We've got pretty good lines down in that area. And we'll need a bigger line eventually further out west Moonlight, but we've actually got, I think, a 10 and a 16 on part of West Moonlight.
That's
Okay.
another pressure plant.
Yeah, we're getting into another pressure plant there.
Okay.
also, so.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you can ask me when you make a motion.
Know that you can.
Okay, yeah. I'll go ahead and make a motion to grant a request for a variance to section 5.1, addressing the 12th Street addition, address at 7388 South 12th Street.
Go ahead.
I'll second.
All right, motion by McLean, seconded by Stivner to approve the variance for the property at 7388 South 12th Street Road. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, consider possible action on awarding the bid for the purpose of City Hall and Fire Station generators to Joe Starter and Generator LLC for a purchase and an installation price of $135,173. Mr. Renee.
So this was actually in last year's budget. We had budgeted $90,000 to try to put generators on the City Hall and the fire station. When the fire station was built, it was built for a generator. The pad was put in, the transfer switch was put in, all the conduit and everything was run, but no generator was ever actually installed. So when we had our little weather event in 2021, this area was without power for multiple days, so the fire station had difficulty getting doors open and closed. Our phone system was down. PD was still able to operate off of the 911 portion of the phone system and the regular phone system because they have a generator in their part of the building. So we decided to do this. We went out, actually reached out to some buy board companies. That's usually a pretty good deal, and they came back and said we can put a whole building generator on each building for your budget, and then they sent me back a price of $207,000, which was to me way more than $90,000, but they claimed they could do it for $90,000. So I reached out to them and they said they couldn't get close to that amount. So I started contacting other generator companies, and there's a real demand for generators. It's really hard to get anyone to talk to you about generators right now. I did finally get in touch with Joe's Starter Generator here locally and talked with them. They actually did the PD generator, and they do some service for our utility department. So they came out, spent a couple days with them. They brought an electrician. They did an assessment. We looked at a whole building generator for City Hall and a whole building generator for the fire department, because fire department's already set up for it. And then we also looked at just doing part of City Hall instead of doing the whole building, to see how cost-wise that would come out. To do a whole building generator, you put a transfer switch on the outside of the building next to where all the power comes in. Basically, when the power goes off, the generator kicks on and it sends the power into the building through the same panels that are there. If you do just part of the building, you have to come inside, put in whole new additional electric panels. You have to run wire from each circuit you want to run off the generator. So when we looked at the difference, there wasn't just a big difference in the cost. It was about somewhere just under $10,000 to do a whole building generator versus just doing like a third of City Hall. So we figured, let's do the whole building. So I did, because none of the people who had talked to me are on any of the purchasing co-ops, we did have to go out for bids on this. So we did that. So just going back a little bit. So Joe's gave me a quote in July for a little over $120,000 for the generators. I did not include a fence around the fire department's generator. I'd forgotten to do that, but they did include a fence here. So we put the bid specs together, did all that, published the notice, went out for bids. We ended up having 3 requests for packets. Joe's Starter Generator was one, a company out of Austin called Anthology Electrical Services, and then the company I had talked to originally last year on Byboard. The Byboard company declined to submit a quote, so I just got the 2 quotes. And from the time I got the quote in July till I got the bids, the price went up to $135,000. So I only put $130,000 in the budget. So if we want to approve this, we will have to do a budget amendment of $5,173. But if we wait another 6 months, they may go up to $160,000. So apparently we should have all bought a bunch of generators about 2 years ago.
We
Sit
missed
back
it.
and
We missed it.
I don't recommend
yeah. You don't recommend that?
I did it.
Oh,
They're still in my shop.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you got the wrong generator.
Neither still in the shop. I was without electricity burnt.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is our generators are kind of in the size that cities are having to get to run pump stations and stuff to meet all these requirements for the water infrastructure that they put on them.
So they're in big demand.
So I think that's, but both these companies said we're looking at 4 to 6 month lead time once we award them. So, we also included service agreements in this for the first 5 years.
So
I have a,
So that 5-year maintenance cost, any total cost is separate than what the,
yeah, that would be paid in future years.
okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So the annual maintenance for Joe's is $1,280. The annual maintenance for Anthology is $1,350.
So my only question really, Craig, is what is the remote monitoring and what is the annual fee for? What is that referencing?
The remote monitoring is just the ability to, if we're having some kind of issue or something, they can get on and try to figure out from a remote location
Okay.
what
Not
needs
even
to be
just an
done.
issue, they can check it
Yeah, they can check
and
it.
make sure it's ready when it's needed to
Yeah.
run.
So they can access it remotely. They don't have to come here physically.
Like
To
they'll
check
do a
it or-
remote startup just to make sure it's functioning.
Or if it doesn't come on, we can call them and say, hey, it's not coming on, and they can access it and try to figure out why it's not coming on.
So we'll pay that. Then what's the $150 annual fee times 2, so $300 a year? Is that, yes.
That's just the annual fee for their service for monitoring it for us, because they're the ones that are actually monitoring it.
Are you asking about the
It's a
annual fee?
$1,295 upfront cost to add the stuff to it to be able to monitor it. And then they charge $150 a year for the monitoring.
Okay.
Is there a time constraint as to how long this bid will be valid before they start to jack the price up on us?
It's valid, if we award it now, it's valid till we receive it. I mean, they're locking in the price now. I think that's part of why it went up a little bit because of the lead time. I
Okay.
think there was an October 1st increase. The way the contracts were, they have to honor this price once we award the bid.
And Joe's was a local company?
Yes,
Was it
they're
Amended?
located in Hewitt.
Yeah.
And College is located in Austin. So, and we bid this on best value, so we did include different factors. So the fact that they're right here, easier to get maintenance and
Yeah.
stuff done on them
Definitely.
is definitely a plus. So
Mhm.
the companies, as far as their background, their references and all that, were pretty comparable, so it really came down to price and
Yeah.
the fact that they're a local company is
Yeah.
why we recommended them.
Any further questions?
Are you making a motion? To approve Joe Starter and Generator LLC for the purchase and installation price of $135,173.
I'll second that motion.
Real quick. It shows total cost of that, so what's the difference between that and 135?
That'll be handled in future budgets. That's just locking in. Mr. Souter's asking the 5-year maintenance cost is $65.50 for the raising the total price of the 141, but that $65.50 will come in future budget.
Yeah, the 6550 will be in subsequent 5 years. So the first year purchase price is the 135,173.
Sounds good.
I tried to anticipate you asking that, that's why I'm looking at it. Because I know you always want to know what's the total cost versus the cost right now. And even at the 5-year cost, it's still a better price. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're only paying $20 more a year per year for maintenance costs, but still pretty
Okay, we have a motion to award the bid for the purchase of City Hall and Fire Station generators to Joe Starter and Generator. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, consider possible action on approval of a professional services agreement with MRB Group, PC, to provide planning services to the city of Robinson. Mr. Lemon?
I think from our earlier discussion, you're all aware that Justin French is retired. So now I'm wearing city manager and planning and development director hats.
Looks good
I'm
on
probably
you.
not quite as good at it as I need to be. And there's not enough hours in the day. Spending most of my days doing that right now. So I did reach out to MRB Group. They actually have a planner here in McLennan County. We met with them about a year ago. Named Jordan Everett. So they're actually a national company, MRB Group, but they do have an office here in Waco with a local plan. Asked him if he'd give me a proposal for planning services, just a general proposal to help supplement until we can find a planner to bring in to replace Mr. French. Right now, we've just got it set up at an hourly rate. I anticipate what we're probably going to do is try to set up a couple of days a week, maybe half a day, where there'll just actually be somebody here in City Hall. And then all these people that are coming in, we're just going to have to tell them, you'll have to schedule on this day between a specific time to come in and meet with the planner. And do that until we can actually find a planner. So we will have the savings from Mr. French's salary to offset those costs until we hire someone. We do have a building official who will be starting it in less than 2 weeks, hopefully. And he does have some background in some of the development side of things, so once I get him on board and get a feel for what his capabilities are, we may not need somebody at that director level. We might just need more, maybe a staff planner as opposed to somebody that had Justin's background. We can let them focus mainly on the planning and zoning and all that, and let the building officials take care of the development and the stormwater and the floodplain management and all those other things Justin was doing. So that will allow us to, planners are really hard to find right now. They're not just laying around on the street looking for jobs, so this will allow us to do that. They're all at TML this week, so I was able to get this and get going, but once we do the building official in, we will start new permits. He'll be doing the inspections, so that will also save us a lot of money on the pass-through that I'm gonna pay DB and things like that, so I'm not really worried about the budget amount in the short term. I think we can make the numbers work. Just really needing another body here until we can figure out exactly what we're gonna do going forward and the best approach.
So we've got on this agreement, we've got a rate sheet. Are we anticipating which one, the planning associate or senior planning associate?
Well, he is a senior planning associate, but he has planning associates that I think they tend to put them out in the cities, because he told me they've got 2 or 3 other cities here in Central Texas that they've got planners spending half a day or to a full day out. So I think they would work under his direction, but yeah, it'd be one or the other.
And Greg, when you say short term, are you
Hopefully.
talking 3 months?
I would think at least 3 months. Yeah, I think. Like I said, I want to get the new building official's name is David Hale. Get him in here, so we'll have a feel for him, and then get the planner job posted. But I kind of want to hold off because if I don't need someone at that higher level, because I've got somebody that has the skills. We brought Justin in. His background was mainly planning, and while he's been here, he's learned the floodplain management, the stormwater stuff, and all the other stuff. So finding a planner with all that is kind of tough. So I know David's got some background like that because he was the development director in Alpine. So once I'm comfortable with what he can do, then I can figure out what we need on the planning side. So I hope to do that pretty quick. But I know when we hired Justin, we spent 6 months advertising. I think we had 5 applicants, and we ended up with 2 pretty quick. And then we picked him from those 2. So we didn't just have there's not a whole lot of people at that level out there that are looking. So yeah, we want to move along quickly, but it's amazing how many phone calls today are coming in on this stuff. Yeah, I know Justin was always frazzled with what he had, and now they're all coming to me, so.
Maybe like I get it.
Yeah, I've got everybody. I've got the code enforcement's helping. Destiny's picking up some stuff. We're kind of, everybody's all hands on board, but things will get better next week. We get a couple new people starting the next couple weeks, so but right now we're pretty stretched thin. So yeah, this just kind of keep our head above water. There are other consultants out there that we could even talk to. They're individuals. Maybe if we can't find a planner that could come in and do it, it's just I need something real quick because I only got about 3 weeks notice on that. So I knew it was going to be crazy once he left. So.
Questions?
Mr. Long, you have any?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve professional service agreement with MRB Group for planning services.
I'll second.
All right, motion is to approve planning services agreement with MRB Group. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, Mayor and Council member updates and requests for items to be placed on future agendas. Mr. Master George?
Not at this time, no.
Mr. Burks?
Nothing.
Ms. McLean? Available
I just want us to start thinking about the Christmas parade.
They're already working on the Christmas parade.
Yeah. But she can,
No, I know, I have float.
oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Council member float.
We threw a lot of candy out. It was a great time.
Hit it,
Yeah, that's it.
Mr. Patton? Mr.
Oh, I'm good. We'll adjourn at 6:39.